Hi, Kate.
Hello.
David's starting up our YouTube stream, so we're live on the mic. There's Stephanie, great. And there's Mark, great. Good evening, Mark.
Okay.
So I think we have, are we missing anyone from the budget committee members, Kathy? I think everybody's here.
They're all here.
Yep. So I think we're ready to go. I should probably say before you go, we invited principals. Last time we had them as attendees. This time we put them in as panelists. So you got a lot more people on the screen. This just, if questions come up, they're here to provide context if we need them. So that's why you have more people.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting of the Forest Grove School District Budget Committee to order. And first, I'll do a roll call of committee members. Deborah Sims.
Present.
Sujay Hernandez.
Present.
Nicholas Hafez.
Present.
Stephanie Rose.
Present.
Peter Bauer.
Present.
Kate Grandusky.
Present.
Narce Rodriguez.
Unable to attend tonight.
Okay. Mark Bennett. Mark Everett.
Here, I'm present.
Thank you. Brad Bafaro.
He's unable to attend.
All right. Valerie Ingram.
Here.
Great. All right. I'd like to invite everybody to go ahead and stand up and we'll do the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, next on the agenda is introductions. And I'm going to go ahead and do just call out the committee members' names. And then after that, maybe Kathy, you can help me with getting the rest of the people introduced. All right, so I'm Melinda Fisher, and I am a community member with two children that went through the Forest Grove School District. And I'm on the budget committee. Deborah?
Yes, I'm a community member out in Gales Creek. I am a parent of a high school student and on the budget committee.
Sujay?
Hi, I'm Sujay Hernandez, and I'm a community member, and I have two sons that go to Cornelius Elementary.
Nicholas?
Hi, good evening. I'm Nicholas Hafez from Forest Grove. We moved into Forest Grove 5 years ago, and then we came from Hillsborough. And my kids are all grown up.
Stephanie?
My name's Stephanie Rose, and I'm a community advocate on a few different committees around and boards, and also on one, the Behavioral Health Advisory with the county. And I've got two kids, one at Joseph Gale, who's in the 3rd grade, and the other 6th grade at Tom McCall.
Great. Peter Bauer?
Hello, I'm Pete Bauer. Been a member of the community for quite a while. My wife is a teacher in the school district. I have three children that are not in the public school district yet, but they will be in a few years. And thank you very much.
Okay. Kate?
I'm Kate Grandusky. I'm from Gales Creek, and I'm a school board member, and both my children went through school K through 12th grade.
Mark?
I'm Mark Everett, a school board member, and I too had two two kids go through the Forest Grove School District.
Valerie,
Valerie Ingram, school board member and also parent of two daughters that are juniors at the high school.
and then Kathy, would you mind calling off the rest of the people that need to be introduced?
Absolutely. I don't mind at all. Okay. Dave Parker,
Oops.
Dave Parker, superintendent.
Eileen,
Eileen Clute, business manager.
David Warner,
David Warner, Director of Communications.
John,
John O'Neill, Assistant Superintendent and parent of 5 kids that have gone through the district.
Kevin.
Kevin Noreen, Director of Human Resources.
Okay, let's see if I can find everybody else. Perla,
Hi, I'm Perla Rodriguez. I'm the principal at Echo Shaw and also had 3 of my own kids go through our district.
Rogelio,
Hi, everybody. Rogelio Martinez, principal at Fern Hill. I have 2 children currently. One, in the Forest Grove School District. One is a freshman at the high school. One is a 3rd grader at Echo Shaw. And then I have 2 that have gone all the way through as well.
Juliana,
Juliana Kelly, principal at Neil Armstrong Middle School.
Aaron,
Karen O'Neill, high school principal, 5 boys that have gone all the way through the district. Last one graduated in 2020.
Troy,
Good evening, Troy Fisher, principal at Joseph Gale Elementary.
Amy,
Amy Harlow, interim principal at Harvey Clark.
Angela,
Angela Graves, principal of Cornelius, in my car driving home for this meeting. And I'm also the parent of 2 kids in the Forest Grove School District.
and Krista.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Krista Slaughter, Oak Grove Program Coordinator for Trauma Call in Gales Creek.
Oh, yeah. I think I don't think I missed anybody. I think we're good.
Oh, Summer Johnson.
Oh, Summer, I'm sorry, you're clear up at the top of my screen.
I'm principal at Tomacall. For elementary, I have a child who's gone through the district and my youngest is a senior, so almost 2.
Great. Thanks for your help, Kathy, with that. Next up on the agenda is the approval of the May 12th, 2022 meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion that we approve those minutes.
I'll second it.
Great. I'm going to go through the roll call vote. Deborah,
Yes.
Sujay,
Yes.
Nicholas,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Yes.
Pete,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Valerie.
Yes.
Great. All right. Next is, let's see, didn't we? Hold on just a second. We need to also approve tonight's agenda.
I move that we approve tonight's agenda as presented.
Second, Nicholas Hafez.
Okay, I'm going to go through the roll call again. Deborah,
Yes, agree.
Sujay,
Yes.
Nicholas,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Yes.
Pete,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Valerie.
Yes.
Great. All right. With that housekeeping done, it's now time for Eileen Clute with response to budget committee questions and comments.
All right, so thank you everyone for attending
tonight's second budget committee meeting, well, second official budget committee meeting of the year. We have, you each should have received a copy of the budget as a whole, the presentation last week, and had an opportunity to look through. We had a few questions that came up over the weekend, and I wanted to take some time to go over those questions and responses to them, and then we'll have an opportunity for public comment and then open discussion as a whole for the committee. Please feel free to ask any questions you have as we go through this, and then hopefully we'll be able to answer those. One of the questions that came up is around the 7 FTE reduction for instructional teachers moving into next year, and what buildings would see those reductions and how specifically NAMs would be impacted by that. And so the next couple of slides is really focusing on this 7 FTE reduction here.
I think your sound changed, Eileen. Is that what everyone else was hearing?
A little bit.
If it gets worse, I'll go ahead and dial in. Just let me know if it needs to.
I can hear it.
No, we can hear you fine.
Okay.
Just change it.
So this table shows by building where we had budgeted enrollment last year to be, where the FTE was, an average class size, and then the same information for the 22-23 budget, and then the variance. So this 252 student change from budget to budget is what that 7 FTE is a result of. And so Dilly, Echo Shaw are each losing 1 FTE. Joseph Gale is losing 2 FTE. Tom McCall 2, NAMS 3. And then those are being offset by a 2 increase at Forest Grove High School. So that is where the FTE reduction is by building. And all of it is directly related to that change in enrollment, that loss of enrollment year over year. An example of one of the questions was, well, why don't we just maintain the FTE where they're at? And so Joseph Gale, for an example, if we were to take this 395 student enrollment and divide it by the 19 FTE, assuming no reduction, then they would be sitting at a 20-to-1 average class size, whereas you'd be having Cornelia's at a 23-to-3. So by doing that, it rebalances all of the buildings. So we are having similar class sizes building to building as close as we can, knowing that it's a 1.0 change kind of has a little bit of a difference. So that's just really rebalancing the buildings to having similar average class sizes across the board. But that 252 student loss is the driving factor of it. Another one of the questions that came up, part of this was specifically around Neil Armstrong and the reductions, with the primary concern being the difficulty to make reductions at the secondary level, and that reductions don't always fit perfect into licensures and schedules and where reductions need to take place. And so in talking with the principal, Ms. Kelly over at Neil Armstrong, we wanted to briefly just kind of walk you through how the reductions are anticipated to impact the building. And in looking at that, what it would do is it would take the 6-house model at Neil Armstrong and create a 5-house model. And in that would make one of those 5 houses be a 7th grade, 8th grade split.
Hey, Eileen, sorry to interrupt, but your mic is kind of echoing, or I don't know, it's funky.
Okay, sorry about that. Give me like 1 minute to dial in really fast.
Okay, thanks.
Do you want me to talk through this slide while we do that? Start it?
Sure.
Okay, I'd be happy to. So just to go back to the top, so we're moving from a 6-house model to a 5-house model, which is where we were, let's see, it was the year before we started, so it's been about 4 years. We were at a 5-house model, which does mean there's going to be that house that's split between 2 grade levels. What that does is if our teachers are teaching their core classes and 1 elective, class sizes will look like about the 31-1. If they're not teaching an elective and only teaching core, it'll be a 27-1. And we're still looking at electives and what's forecasted and sorting all of those numbers out to see how that lands. And with an increase of interventions, a bunch of those kids will likely be in interventions, as we have seen. So we might not have quite the need for other electives in this coming year. And then Eileen, you can interrupt me anytime it comes back on. But what we did to not have a RIF situation is we got creative with our funding. So we had 1 teacher who retired. We moved 1 teacher into an intervention position that's funded by SIA dollars, and then 1 all ed position that is funded by ESSER money, so that we wouldn't have to RIF anybody. We're just shifting people's positions. And we will not have any teachers who have to split their content. So they won't be teaching, for example, language arts and math in there one day. But we do have a couple of teachers, as you can see on the challenge side, who will teach half of their day in 1 grade level and half of the day in the other. What we did for those teachers is we made sure that they wouldn't teach any electives, so they only have to focus on those 2. The only exception is our math teacher. We need an advanced math on that house. And then we loop at Neil Armstrong. So the kids who are in 7th grade, they continue with their same teachers in 8th grade. And the teachers move up in grade level, and it won't be 100% possible to do that, reducing our houses. So we'll have some shifting of some students to move to other houses. So for some of our kids, a fresh start is awesome, and that will be good for them. But for some of them, that will be disappointing. And then normally our core teachers do teach 1 elective during their day. We have a few cases where it could be that the teacher is teaching a half day of core and a half day of electives. So hopefully that helps to answer some of those questions. And I really appreciate you looking out for us, I just have to say.
Can I ask a question, Juliana?
Yeah.
Yeah, just to clarify. So moving to the 5-house model, I guess 6 houses means you have 3 7th and 3 8th.
Right.
Houses, is that right? So when you move to the 5, I understand the split then.
Mm-hmm.
And then my other question was on the challenge side, you said normally core teachers teach 1 elective, but some may teach several elective periods. So I'm trying to think if they're teaching many electives, more than 1 elective, they're not teaching their core class. I mean, why would that be? I guess I don't follow that.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. So we have a couple of science teachers, and with the domino effect, it was getting really interesting. And one was potentially going to have to teach a core that he has never taught before. And so to get creative, what we're doing is having out of those 2 science teachers, rather than having one teach something completely different they've never taught before, and the other one teaching half 7th and half 8th, one is going to teach half 7th and electives that we need, and one is going to teach half 8 and the electives that we need.
And then that means that each teach more electives because,
yeah,
I see. Okay.
So they'll absorb some other necessary electives from some other places.
Okay.
And so those 2 teachers will be on that blended house together.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the explanation. I know that, I mean, I've been through reductions, and I know that when you have reductions, you know, sometimes you need a half-time math teacher and a half-time language arts teacher, and you're not going to find that. So,
right.
You know, it's hard to reduce in that situation, right? Because I'm just saying maybe you have to reduce somewhere else in the district. That's all I'm saying, because it's hard to staff that.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. And it's not perfect, but we did get creative to make it the least amount of
okay.
Not good.
Okay, thanks.
Eileen, are you back on yet? The next slide's mine anyway, so I mean, I can go through and talk about that, but she was trying to get reconnected here so you could hear her. Well, I'll keep moving in while we're trying to get Eileen reconnected. The next question that was asked was really around the Science TOSA, Science Health / Gardens TOSA, and just wanting to get some more information on what are we doing and why are we doing it. Some of the reasons around this is in the winter, we presented on kind of what's happening K-6 math. And we heard from Brenda around this idea that currently she's trying to cover 100+ teachers with math and do science and health all at the same time. And that's just not possible. K-6 science really hasn't been getting the kind of support that it needs. And with our current set of literacy block, math block, trying to work science in there, there's not a lot of time. As we begin to move forward, we need someone who's going to be able to help support teachers. In our secondary schools, we have science specialists, people who know science, were educated or took classes in science. Our K-6 teachers, that's not always true. And sometimes science is not their strength. So having somebody who can begin to create lessons and help them work this in is something, that's the reason why we're bringing it forward. Now, this is out of the student investment account. And that's, again, one of these places that this is an appropriate use of it. The other big piece that we have here is with this new K-12 or K-6 literacy adoption, it's built so there's a lot more science built into the actual literacy instruction. But again, this is the person who's going to help support staff as we figure out how to get these science lessons built into the literacy block. This also frees up Brenda, our K-6 math TOSA, to do more of the work that we want her to do, which is more math TOSA support. Currently, she's not really able to get to K-2 classrooms for this math. This will allow her to expand her exposure too. This is health, so there is a health component built. This is the person who will be looking at what the health standards are and making sure that we're carrying them out in our K-6 classrooms. Lastly, there's also a gardens component here, which is we have another person who also works in the gardens, but there needs to be somebody who's coordinating kind of this science part of this. Last but not least, we do have an issue of next generation science standards, which were passed several years ago. We need someone to begin to build those standards into the work that we did. The work that we did several years ago that Brian Hawkins did, those weren't the standards we used when we created the lessons there. So there's got to be some conversion there too. But those are the reasons why wanted to give you a little background on why we're suggesting and what, running this Science TOSA out of the student investment account. And I can take questions on that if you have any. Perfect. There's several minor corrections.
If I can take this from here, if you can hear me.
Yeah. Yes,
Sorry. I apologize for this. And I, unfortunately, every time I turn on my camera, it keeps kicking me out of the meeting. So we are going to make do with what we have right now. This slide just talks about a couple of minor corrections. They were a couple of typos we noticed after the fact. Page 14, it has NARCI's term expiration is 2025, and it's actually 2023. And then on page 111, for nutrition services, it talks about provision 2 expiring in 2022. And that one, we were just notified it actually expires in 2022 and not 2023. So a couple of quick corrections. It doesn't impact the budget as a whole. It's just numbering errors. So then now it is open for public comment, and I'll kick it back to the board or the budget committee chair to do the next steps.
All right, so it is now a time of public comment, and David or Kathy, are there any comments that have come up that we need to have answered?
We did not have any. I left it open till 5:30, so there were no comments received.
All right. Okay, and then the next item is budget committee discussion and deliberation. And I am going to go committee member by committee member and ask each member if they have a comment or question and or request for additional information. So here we go again. Deborah.
I don't have anything at this time.
All right. Sujay.
I don't have anything.
Nicholas.
I'm okay with it right now.
Stephanie.
I've got a question about the Title IX funds, which is for the sporting, right? For the sporting grant, I believe. Is that split 50-50 between girls and boys? Do we know? And if not, why? I guess is my question for that. And then I had some questions again, and I know we touched on this a little bit a couple weeks ago about the goals, the goal order. Is that going to stay the same, or is that going to be changed? And with those goals, number 2 and number 5, are they the same goal, basically? Because that's what I'm reading. I feel like it's the same kind of thing. I'm not sure what the difference is there. I still think goal number 1 should be goal number 5, and goal number 5 should be goal number 1. You can't accomplish goal number 1 without accomplishing the others. And that's all I've got for now.
Which page are you looking at?
Oh, this was stuff from if you go in the meeting minutes from our last meeting, the one Kathy sent last week, the 12th. If you go down there, the 4th page, you'll see that where the goals and whatnot are.
Okay, thank you.
So let me take a shot at I don't have an answer for the Title IX because I'm not sure, I'm not sure about the amount of money that we're talking about there. Certainly we have, John, go ahead.
Yeah, Title IX is a expectation that we need to meet, but no funding comes with it. Isn't that correct, Eileen?
Yes, we don't have a specific grant for Title IX. It's just the expectations and how we operate.
Okay, so that is, go ahead, Dave.
But there is a whole set of laws and expectations about how we deal with both those issues and complaints and or investigations. So there's a lot of law behind how we handle Title IX.
Sure. So is there a way to find out if there is money for those purposes? Is it split evenly amongst boys and girls sports?
Title IX is not a grant that we get money for.
But is there a grant? I mean, if it's not Title IX, is there a grant that comes in for sporting or no?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No. On the goal thing, here's what I could tell you. There isn't really an expectation of priority by the goals. But what I can tell you is that's all work that I have to do in the fall. So this is already agreed upon. It's already voted on by the board in a different session earlier in the year. But we're going to have to go back through and redo the sets of goals and strategic planning. So I'm writing down kind of what you said, because it won't be hard for us to do some reordering there to talk about priority. That's fine. It's just that currently that's not what's adopted by the board. And I'm going to have, like I said, there's a whole thing where I'm going to have to go out in the fall to do a program that ODE is talking about, where we're going to have multiple community meetings and talk through all of these issues. And at that time, I'll be bringing back to the board kind of a new strategic plan and a new set of goals.
Thank you. I also want to say real quick, for, that last meeting when after Eileen presented and gave us that opportunity to talk amongst each other, that was really helpful. And I thank you for that, Eileen, and all of the board and everybody, the committee members for giving that opportunity and to having some dialogue there. Not that often our committee members, we're pretty much told what's going on, what to do, we just give the approval. And don't want much feedback in all reality. And so that makes it hard to get us other community volunteers on these boards and committees, because they'll say my input doesn't matter, right? So it's harder for me to try to bring people along and convince them, no, they really do want to hear what we have to say and they're really doing something with it, so the more the response that we get, a more dialogue going, I highly encourage that. And I really appreciate you guys for doing that. I mean that. I'm on a lot of these boards and committees, and I take every chance I get, and to know, Dave had followed up, sent an email to follow up, to go over some stuff we discussed. And I appreciate that, so I really just appreciate this group. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, Stephanie. All right, we're going to continue on. And again, if you have a comment, question, or request additional information, Pete.
Oh, I got a couple questions because I have questions. So I was doing a little perusing the budget here. And one of the things I kind of tend to focus on things that are sort of larger than, larger increases, that may occur from one year to the next. And I'm pretty sure we talked about debt service maybe during Eileen's presentation last week, but there is a pretty large increase in debt service, and I'm sure there's a reason for it. I just can't remember what it was. I'm curious if Eileen, you could walk through that real quick.
Hey, Pete, yeah. What page are you on?
22.
Got it.
So, Pete, if you look at the debt service section further back in the book, going back to like page 115 and further, that is the more detail behind the debt service in itself. One of the things with our current debt obligations, and I believe you're talking about the fund balance increasing.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, on 22, I noticed there's a 37% increase. It looks like what we had budgeted for last year is going to increase from, actual audited was pretty similar from 19 to 20, and then 21 to 22, there's a pretty big jump.
We do have, with the debt service, those are our debt service payments that we make annually on everything from like our bond debt to property purchases. And going into this next year, we have a couple of things that we'll be doing. One is we have new GASB rules, which state that we have to account for our land leases differently. So they won't be expenses. It'll go against the debt account. So we have that piece. Plus we have a little bit of a jump up in a couple of our debt payments. And then combined with, we have our new David Hill property purchase that is also a debt service. So kind of those three things combined is what's bumping that up a little bit.
Okay. And is the David Hill property the sort of area for proposed new elementary school at some point, kind of over by the high school? If you want to call it that.
Yes,
okay.
Just the high school where they're doing that new development right now. Yep.
Okay. I guess as long as we're on the debt service, I also did notice on page 115, there's a pretty substantial jump there in 2026. And I don't know if that looks obviously like it's a proposed increase. I don't know if that's.
Yeah, it's a balloon payment that's built into one of our current debt schedules. And what that does is included in that, we have to each year put aside a certain dollar amount. And so you'll see over time our debt fund balance growing. This is the one that I thought you were talking about initially. Okay. But so every year we've been growing that debt fund balance by a payment that we have. It's a payment schedule that we have set aside for it. And so that'll allow us to make that one-time balloon payment.
Okay.
But we're setting aside funds each year so that we're not having a significant jump in the debt payment that year. We'll be able to make that without having a big bubble in our debt payments. We'll make the payment. We'll have fund balance to be able to do so.
Okay, cool.
Does that help?
Yeah, no, I just noticed it was a pretty big number.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Thanks. Great question.
I probably had another question, but I think that was a couple that popped out. Go ahead on to someone else if you'd like.
Okay. We're going to continue on. And again, comment, question, or request additional information. Kate?
I have one question, and it's I don't know where it is in the book. I was reading the slides that you had, Eileen, from last week, and I'm sorry that I could not make the meeting, but it was under the 2022-2023 proposed budget under expenditures by major object, and under it was supplies and materials. And in 2019, it was 1.347 million, and now it's proposed, it's tripled. And so why is that, and what is the amount, why is it tripling? In I know that things go up, but it seems like a big jump.
Do you have a specific, is it general fund or is it all funds combined? Do you have a slide that you're looking at specifically so I can look at that?
Yeah, you know what's in this, the presentation that you did last week,
right?
Yeah, and let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's on the 8th page, and it says general fund proposed budget. And it's under expenditures by major focus. Let me see. Okay, maybe the next one or the bottom of that.
The supplies and materials going from jumping up to 3.9 million.
Yeah, I was curious about that.
That is the literacy adoption materials.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So because it almost tripled, and so I was curious.
$2 million is that literacy adoption, and it's just a placeholder that's going to be spent between supplies and materials, salaries and benefits. It'll be spent several different ways, but until we had that exact breakout, I just put it as one lump sum under supplies and materials.
Okay. All right. I think that was the only question I had on this. I haven't had a chance to go through the whole book, but I will. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Kate.
All right, next up, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, I had, my questions were earlier around the reduction, the 7 FTE reductions that we're going to have. And I understand it now based on the enrollment. I guess the only question I'd have as a follow-up to that is, if more students, and it's too bad that we're down that number of students, but if we do have more students come in the fall, I believe we have a plan. We have a plan in place for that. And is that correct? I mean, I think that's correct. Is that right, Dave or Eileen?
Yes.
Okay.
We do have a plan in place. If we get more students in the fall, it does not necessarily mean more funding, because the state, if we receive an influx of students at the same rate as the state as a whole, it's going to equalize out. And so what we've done, because there's not a guarantee that we'd get more funding necessarily, we have placeholders in the SIA grant and a couple of placeholders in the general fund for class size supports. So those are what we call pocket FTE that we're holding on to until we see where the students are coming in, what we call butts in the seats. So we'll wait until early September and then look at where our enrollment is and then allocate those out.
Okay, yeah, that was my only follow-up question. Thanks.
Yep.
All right, and lastly, Valerie.
I don't have any further questions at this time. Thank you.
Okay. So next up is budget approval. And Eileen, I know you have to have 3 separate motions and you're going to have a slide up for us to read.
Okay, let me do that.
Okay.
And we want that one, slideshow.
All right.
Wanda, you want me to go ahead and make a motion?
Yeah, and I believe we have to do all 3 of these individually, and I have to do roll call voting for all 3.
Okay, sounds good. The first one, I move to approve the 2022-2023 budget as presented.
Second.
Great. All right. Any further discussion? All right, then I'm going to go through the roll call voting. I approve. Deborah?
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay, so, I know a lot of our job on this committee is to try to get community input and feedback, which of course I'm always trying to do. But so for this stuff, because it's on another level, so it's really hard to grasp. So we start these meetings end of April or when we start, and we have 2 or 3 meetings where we actually get into the meat of it and can talk about the stuff. But there's some questions, with the documents Eileen sent over that was a 100-page one, a 200-page one. Not everybody reads those unless you're kind of dorky like me. Like, I love that stuff, right? But a lot of people don't love to read that. But it's really important to understand that before digging into this, because then you're just reading a budget and going through reading what you don't really know. And so I think it would be great if, I don't know if before the official process gets started, maybe have a meeting or 2 prior with the committee or whoever. Just, I know that Eileen accepts questions and Dave one-on-one, which is great, but it's great to have some dialogue in their conversation, because there's some questions people may not even think to ask, or to know, right? So hearing others back and forth, bouncing off each other, it helps people understand things from another point. And then it also gives us more time to take it to the community to be able to answer their questions, right? Because we're kind of tasked with being responsible with having the answers. So how do we get these conversations among the community? I mean, if we really want the feedback and information, I think there needs to be a good way for us to be able to get that information out appropriately so we can accomplish that task. But that's my thoughts on that. And I just been thinking about that a lot. If we had more time just to discuss the basics, I guess. And I know we should know a lot of this stuff coming into this committee, which I totally understand. However, budgets are different, whether it's a school district, government entities are different, business is different. So it's all a little different. I don't know. I just stuff now.
So I think couple of things jump into my head here on this. One is that tonight, it's your job as the committee to have gone through this process, and it is super complex. It's why we have this, that's why you're here, and why we walk you through kind of the budget 101 and each step of the way to be able to analyze and look at this. Tonight, you as the budget committee are approving the budget to go in front of the board. There's another opportunity in front of the board here where we'll hear more public comment. We didn't have a lot of public comment tonight. Doesn't mean that we don't want it, but there is still more opportunities for folks and for you to work with your neighbors, or if neighbors have questions. But again, there's not just the official budget meetings, but there's the 2 or 3 different kind of introductory budget committee meetings that are all live streamed out to YouTube for folks who are interested to be able to watch. So that's kind of how we go about trying to do this. But to be honest, again, it is super complex, and it's why you as the committee, why we spend a lot of time trying to explain how all of this works, because it's not an easy document for anybody to just pick up and try and understand how we deal with our budget. So Eileen, I don't know, do you have any other kind of thoughts on that?
No, just again, to remind everybody, we allow, we have public comment at these meetings to provide opportunities. It is all open to the public. We have it, all of the information posted. We post it online and at the newspaper. So we're really trying to get it out there now, whether people, it is a lot of information. It really is a lot of information to dive into. But yeah, I think there's opportunities for people to get involved, and we can definitely look at our process and try to figure out how we can get more community input in the future.
Yeah. So once it's approved, though, it's as presented, approved as presented, we cannot go back to it, though, and change it. Is this correct? That's what I think the question was a couple of minutes ago.
Right. Once the budget committee approves it, it will go to the board. But at that point in June, we'll have a budget hearing where community and anybody can speak on the budget ahead of time. So that board meeting will start with a public hearing before the board goes to approve.
So the board at that point can't also not approve it then if they have any questions. It's more people have questions, right?
Correct. It's
okay.
Okay.
Got you.
Is that the situation where where the board then can change it up to a certain percent, or is that after it's approved and maybe they have to go through that part?
At that point, when it goes, the board can change it as long as it maintains a balanced budget. And it was similar things that you guys would, where you could increase appropriations, decrease appropriations, move appropriations. So the board has that approval. Once they adopt the budget, then any change at that 10% level, the board can do.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right, I'm going to go through the roll call list then. And so this is the move to approve the 2022-23 budget as presented. Deborah.
Yes, I approve.
Great. Sujay.
Yes, I approve.
Nicholas.
Yes, I approve.
Stephanie.
I approve.
Pete.
Yes, approve.
Kate.
Yes.
Mark.
Yes.
Valerie.
Yes.
Great. All right, the second motion that comes up.
Don't forget yourself.
Oh, I approve as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Melinda. I'll go ahead and make the second motion. I move to have the permanent tax rate on ad valorem taxes of 4.9142 per thousand be applied to the total property value determined by the Washington County Tax Assessor.
Great.
Second.
All right. Any discussion on motion number 2? All right, I'm going to go ahead and go through roll call again. I approve. Deborah.
Yes, I approve.
Sujay.
I approve.
Nicholas.
I approve.
Stephanie.
I approve.
Pete.
I approve.
Kate.
I approve.
Mark.
Yes.
Valerie.
Yes.
Great. All right, we are already at number 3. Would someone like to move with that one?
Sure. I move to levy the ad valorem taxes for debt services at $6,364,879.
I second.
Great.
Can we get that screen?
Which screen?
Number 3.
It's there at the bottom.
What's the bottom? Oh.
Yep.
Oh, I got it. Okay.
See it? Okay, great. Anybody have any discussion on motion number 3? All right, we're gonna go through the roll call again. I approve. Deborah,
Approve.
Sujay,
I approve.
Nicholas,
I approve.
Stephanie,
I approve.
Pete,
I approve.
Kate,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Valerie.
Yes.
All right, great. And with that on the agenda, I have that, Eileen, do you have anything further? I know you were going to need to talk if there was going to be another meeting, but is there anything further?
No, with the approvals tonight, we are good to go. The next step would be the board hearing, the budget hearing at the next board, not this next board meeting, but the June board meeting, and then board approval. So.
All right. Dave Parker, do you have anything further for tonight?
Yeah, again, I just want to thank everyone for taking part in this process. It is it's very helpful for us to think through and get feedback on some of the things that we're planning and doing. So I just really appreciate everybody's help and their attention to detail as they look through this. I think there were some great comments tonight about kind of how we can continue to improve our process. And we'll definitely take those and start thinking about it. I think this book, I want to say, Eileen, I think this book was excellent in having done a bunch of these. And I think that's come because each year she keeps listening to the comments that you just made and keeps working on trying to improve that. So again, I want to thank everybody for taking part. I want to thank Eileen for her hard work and keeping us on track.
Great. Yes, thank you, Eileen. I don't know how you do it. It's so complicated. All right, if that's it, then I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Thank you.